Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Evolution of Fatherhood. My name's Shane. I'm celebrating my 52nd cycle around the sun this week. So I've been a little bit quiet on social media and not posting as much, but I'm building something up for something. I'm building up to something really, really awesome. So keep you posted on that. There's a few things that I want to talk about today. So it's basically a general, video on topics that relate more to me, but maybe hopefully they'll relate to you as well. So the reason why I share so much of myself and my stories is that I believe there's some wisdom in the way that we share and collect information from each other. And I've had an amazing week, being my birthday week and the week leading to into my birthday and the week coming out of my birthday. And it's a really special time energetically for everyone. And some of the practices that I've learned, maybe, something that you might want to adapt yourself or even just, consider that this is, something that's, feasible or something that wherever you are on your journey, that sometimes these experiences that come past you, they might offer you some insight into something else, or it might lead you to a different conclusion. If you're maybe even if you're feeling a little bit stuck energetically, that there's things that happen for a reason and they're happening in this timing frame. And in my way, it's when I'm all about timing. I'm all about when things should be happening. And this is at this time, I sort of have this. That's the way I see the plan, is in a time frame, rather than seeing it as a either in excessive detail, on somebody else might see it as a spreadsheet, that's the way it is. And then other people might just go, that's the idea, that's an amazing idea, but there's no detail behind it. But for me, it's all about timing. And I go, okay, this is an amazing time for me. And especially when it comes to around my birthday, and some things that I learned, by, finding mentors and timing things around certain things around your birthday that allow you to absorb more of the information that's around you at the time, because it's a energetically time of, there's a lot of, influences around that, can take you away from that too. So it's all about putting some special time aside when it comes to your, when it comes around to your cycle, your birth cycle. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is that a long time ago, meaning 3 years. 3 years ago, I had a reading by this guy. His name's Alfred, and he lives up in some meridian line. So if you don't know Bali, there's certain places on the planet that have these crossover meridian lines where the energy of the planet is apparently very strong, right? I'm not quite sure in detail about how that all works, but I know there's one that crosses just up the north of Bali. Not on Ubud, but closer up to the north of Bali. And this is where this man decides to live, and he does Ayurvedic readings. So you'll see your birth chart, and then he has you'll give him his date of birth, your date of birth, and where you're born, and it gives you a longitude and latitude, and then he works out from there with an Ayurvedic reading about all the points that that mean something to your birth chart. And he was telling me, that my role in this world is to have to be of service, find a way to be of service to the people, because that's what your energy is. Your energy is service to the people, and that's where you'll find your most happiness. And I'm like, okay, that's amazing. And I said, well, how do I do that? Because I do events, and I do profile photos. I do event photography. I do digital media, social media content. I have a travel business. I do, I do a lot of things. And how is that of being of service? And he just went back through my whole list, because that's a being of service. That's being of service. That's being of service. And that's where you want to be. You want to be at a point where you're being of service. And then you could say all business is about being of service. But when it comes back to your what you want to give to the world and how you naturally give to the world, around timing, it's like you have this, timing where it's most accentuated in your sign. So with business, finding what time is best to work on the business, what time's best to work in the business, and how you show up in that. And he was pointing out, this is your cycle. You've got to follow. If you follow this cycle, you'll have a lot more impact in your life. You won't be pushing yourself through times when you really shouldn't be, and you should be regathering your energy. And he spoke to me in a time frame kind of way, so it sort of resonated with me in that too. So very clever man, and I think I'll put the link in the chat for you, because I think he's an amazing healer and an amazing reader, and he's gone to a lot of lengths to make sure that he's in the right place to be able to channel or give the right information to the people that show up for him. And I was fortunate enough to be able to find some time to spend with him, and he went through the cycles with me, and I want to share some of them with you. Okay, I know there's the week before your birthday is very important. The week before your birthday, it's about collectively going through what your past 12 months has been and what you're going to see in the future, right? But it's more accentuated to what you've been through. So the time, what I was, the way he recommended to me was like, what you do before your birthday is very paramount to how your next year is going to be. So it's about, sort of finishing everything off, but understanding where you're at. He was telling me that 1 week before your birthday, be of service, looking for a positive impact. Like, what can you do that's being of service, like not to get nothing back other than just to be of service, right? And it's like, it looks like, and I asked him what it was like, and he said, what does that look like? And he said, well, make food, but don't eat it. Make food for people and don't eat it. And I'm like, how do he said, nourish yourself, make sure you're fully nourished, but make sure that you can find a space where you're giving, where you're totally giving and not, and making it about the person that's receiving it rather than giving it to yourself, right? And I took that on, and I was like, I had this, birthday dinner going on, and my friends were all there, and they're all like saying, have this, have that. And I was like, yep. And I made sure I nourished myself. But when it came to the big, the birthday cakes, and everyone's going to the birthday cake, I said, no. I thought to myself, I didn't say no to anyone. I just was like, no, thank you on the cake bit, because I knew I wanted the cake that I'd created, I wanted to just give it as a gift to everyone, right? And it was more, but it was conscious. It was saying, I'm had my dinner, and I've been with these people, and sharing a lot of information and connecting, and a beautiful, beautiful evening. But I knew that as part of leading up to my birthday, I wanted to find ways to just give, right? And giving of the cake was something that I wanted to do, and I did, and it was great. The birthday buddies that I found someone. Shout out to Laura. She's my friend, and we have the same birthday, the same hour, the same year, the same hour, the same month, the same time. Like, there's within half an hour of us, 7:30 a.m. in the morning. We were like, and I think 7:30 is pretty general for like, when mums have been through, all nights, labor. But a friend pointed out to me that maybe we should be looking at, we should be calculating from conception rather than delivery. But I don't see that. I sort of see, like, when you decide to come into the world is a conscious thing, even as a baby, and it's probably an agreement between the mom and the baby, and it's kind of on a spiritual level. So I do believe that the birth time is very important. So I found somebody that was my birth buddy, and I thought to myself, how can I, what can I do unconditionally for her? Because I was kind of like going through, because that last week before my birthday, I'd been doing some solitude. I actually went away and I stayed in a tent. You might have seen me like post some stuff like when I've come back from the solitude retreat. And I just did it so I could just journal. And I took that, 3-4 days to be able to just write in my story and reconnect with myself, and have no, make a fire, cook basic food, sleep in a tent, ogle the moon, do things, go for a bushwalk, and that was another thing that happened when I was in that solitary retreat space. I went out into the bush, and I was just, exploring around the jungle, and I was like, playing, well, not playing, I was just kind of like, I went down to the river and I just washed myself off with this beautiful spring water that was there. And I climbed back up to the top, and I was like, I had to jump across this little creek thing. And as I jumped across the creek thing, I sort of fell down the embankment. But when I looked over the edge, it was like a 20-meter drop to the end. But as I sort of rolled, I sort of Wolverined it into the ground and stopped myself from falling. And I sort of crawled back up to the top, and I sat there, and my heart was pounding, and I was like going, oh my gosh, I nearly died. If I looked over the cliff, I would have been seriously injured. And I said to myself, thank you, God. And I said, thank you, jungle spirits. Like, my time wasn't now, right? But because I had just been out there in a playful mode, and I was like exploring, and I was like in this mindset, I had this experience, and I sort of sat down, and it elevated my being. It kind of, it was like a subtle but not so subtle, push. It felt like, normally I'm really well footed and I wouldn't normally fall like that, but I did. And it was kind of like, it was a fall that I needed to take that extra step in the reality of what I wanted to do with connecting with myself and going, you're meant to be here. Like, that could have been seriously a problem, but it wasn't, because you've got a purpose here. Your purpose is here. So it was kind of like that. So that's what it was like. So after coming back from all of that, stuff that I did by myself in the solitude retreat, I came back, and it was all about reconnecting with everyone, right? Like, now that I've done that work on myself, now it's about giving back to, how can I be of service and doing that sort of thing. So it was like, making food for my son and not eating it, like, making his favorite dish, and then, specifically making it for him, and like, not eating it myself. And then, having having it separate, just separating it so it's, has a meaning to it. So it makes a bit more sense to me than it probably does anybody else. And it should just make sense to you too, right? It's not about, knowing what it's for them. It's more about, the ceremony that you're creating for yourself in that space, right? So that's what I did. And, okay, I got to the point where I went to the dinner and I did the cake thing, and I had my own things going on, and I was like, I had my ex-partners there, I had my friends there, I had my longtime friends that I hadn't seen for a long time. I had like my birthday buddy brought a bunch of people that I hadn't even met before. But it was kind of like, so there's new people, old people, and me and my son, we rode up on the Vespa up to Ubud, to this new dinner place for dinner, and it was just a magical night, right? Like, where we reconnected. My son reconnected with some friends that he hadn't seen, the same parents that I hadn't seen for, probably, a long time, years and years and years. And then it's posed a, positioned a situation where we could all meet up and we wouldn't have a beautiful dinner. So it was really, really good. And then it was kind of like, okay, so that part sort of post birthday, I sort of like just fell literally off the cliff, and I was like, okay, I need time to just be in myself, like, so I kind of like not reclusive, but it was more like, okay, I disconnect again from everything after the event, and going, okay, what was this all about? We had some beautiful photos taken. The kids had the camera and they took some amazing photos, and I had to edit all that stuff. But then I was like, after that, I just felt connected to everyone, and I just wanted to stay in that as long as possible before I started getting busy again, because I knew that was the next thing that was going to come. And then I had my mentoring call. I had a mentoring call booked for the after my birthday, and I was feeling a little bit like I wasn't deserving of like, no, it wasn't like I wasn't deserving. It was more that I was finding the steps to get to the mentoring difficult, because I couldn't conceptualize where my business was going. And I was kind of like, I've got this idea of where it's going, but I'm like, not sure if anybody can help me get there, or if it's me that's got to do it all myself, right? And in the timing of that. So then I basically got this amazing mentoring program, and, my mentor, he said to me, he said, Shane, I'm having trouble getting my head around this whole concept of what the business is. Like, I think this could be simplified. And he gave me some beautiful things, but he not only gave me the what he thought was, a simplified version of what I wanted to do, but he also gave me like the URL, the impact, the wording, the how it should roll out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and I was feeling a bit resistant, because I was like, that'd mean redefining everything, right? Like, we go and test and measure, we redefine it. And I realized that it wasn't about taking anything away from what I was actually doing with my business. It was expanding it. It was making it more. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's more that it's like these people, these mentors that are, that show up in your life, and they see you more than you see yourself. And I was just humbled by it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to get out there now and start working. And then he was saying, no, just wear it for a little while. Just wear what I'm saying to you for a little while before you go and act on it, and see how it feels in a couple of days' time. And I'm like, okay. So I sat in it for a little while, and I was thinking about, what angles would I take, and how would I reconstruct the business to have these elements into the business. And it was perfect. It was, I met with the partners all last week, and last night it was, and just told them what I'd been going through and what was the, what the vision was for the future of the company. And they were like amazed at how far we'd come. And the meeting was just so in flow with everybody. It actually changed the culture of our whole company just by putting these little mentoring tips in. So I'm just saying that just with this one, like being in this energy and timing of your birthday and, post birthday and all that sort of stuff, look for the gifts that are not just wrapped in paper, right? These are the gifts that are coming through, you're creating these gifts with your own consciousness and around your own mind, doing your things, and they're part of the gift that you're giving to the world as well, right? So it's all intertangled together. So I thought that was like really, really cool that happened in the timing of it, right? Like around, how, going through my own process and then coming out the other side of it and what to do with it, right? And then coming out of that and then being out of my comfort zone. So going into an environment, if everybody knows me, I'm okay on the camera, I'm okay, talking about my stuff and sharing stories. But this is my comfort zone. This is where I'm comfortable. But you take me out to like a party where there's lots of people, I'm sort of like I'm kind of like a wallflower. I'd prefer just to stand and talk to the same person on that long if I have to, right? I'm not the person that will be the one that will be, drumming up all the conversations. I'm like watching and observing everything. And it's sort of like I have this analytical thing. It's not fear. It's like I absorb much more if I'm not the one that's out there making all the noise, right? I can analyze things a lot better if I can just quieten the noise down. And it's like, the more noisier it is, the harder it is for me to process. So that's just what it is. And, for whatever reason, some people might call it different things, but that's how I roll. And it's not a hindrance to me because I can still operate. I still function quite well. It's more what I prefer and being sensitive enough to know what I would prefer, and that's how I work. And taking on the larger tasks, the opportunities that have come in the last couple of days since the mentoring and the whole, going through the process of being in my solitude environment. I came across these massive gigs that are showing up for me, and they're like big ones, and it's kind of okay, now I need to get, this is where I was before with my events company and doing all that stuff, and I'm like, we can pull all this together and make it like amazing as well, because we're in flow and it's has a bigger purpose. So this big opportunities came up, the new connecting with people that have these multi-million dollar businesses that are all looking for support. And that's where the focus is. I'm not only just running my own business now and having my own success in my own culture and making a business that I'm proud of in my long game. I'm also connecting with these amazing people that have been through the same process as I have, but then come to their point where they're actually, they're very successful and they're looking to scale, and how I can come in there and help them scale in their businesses. And I think that's amazing because it's the natural process. But when you're in it, you don't see it as the natural process. You don't think, I'm going to start a business so I can help others. But you have an idea that you could. But until you've walked through the fire of it, until you've been through the startup phase and understanding what it is and how fresh it is in your mind, you think to yourself, like, the people that have been through it remind you of that process to say, when you get to here, you'll be through it, right? Like, or what's the next milestone to find out, where you recollect all your information, and then the next step from there, right? So you sort of find a milestone. And one of them was my friend Monty Hook, who invited me down to his Lighthouse Studios, where he has podcasting studios with all these different bits and pieces, studio rooms, event spaces, and all that stuff. And I was watching Monty, and because he came and we haven't seen each other for years, and I've always wanted to come down and see his creation. It was beautiful brand new big complex where it's kind of like a co-working space with a cafe with these like podcasting rooms and filming rooms, and right up my alley, all that stuff that all that technical stuff that he had going on there. And he had this really cool, event going on there that had like really high level recording studio for a guy in Ubud that was doing a lot of we were filming for his podcasting or his YouTube channel and marketing funnels and stuff. So I was like, it was good to see the setup that they had there as well. But Monty's vision around his startup phase, and I remember meeting him before he even started up his this lighthouse, and where he was at in the lighthouse experience. I thought to myself, this guy knows where it's been. He knows where I am, and he knows where he's been. But what I noticed about Monty was that he kind of put himself right in the middle of the cafe. And as you do as the owner of a business, and you put yourself right in the middle of the cafe or middle of the problems, everyone comes to you for problems. And I remember I'm sitting there, I'm talking to him, and then the next minute somebody would come up, and then you'd be interrupted, or you'll go, "Oh, hang on a minute, I've got to run off over there." Somebody else showed up, and he was just constantly getting up and going, doing stuff. And I said to him, Monty, you probably don't get anything done, by sitting in the middle of this, because I see a lot of managers doing the same thing, sit themselves right in the middle of the problem. So they know that everything's being fixed, right? And it's understandable, because it's like, it's their baby. It's their one that they really want to make sure that they know the service is being, the service professionalism is there, because they're the ones doing it, right? And he said to me, sometimes, when I'm sitting here, I'll be on a call, and somebody will come and stand next to me until I finish the call. So anyway, I said to Monty, I said, I can see where you're at, and I know what I want to help. I want to help you. I want to be part of this this amazing vision that you've got. How can I be of service? So I came back from a conversation, and I wrote a bunch of stuff down that I think that I could do to help him. And even though there was no like big conversation about help or offers or anything, it was just like, I can see this, and this is what we talked about, and I want to give this back to you as like what I can see and help out in any way I can. So that's the way I roll now. It's kind of like I find that I sit down and I talk to people and I get mentoring, and then I think to myself, I can assist here. If there's something that I can assist with, I'll let them know. I'm coming back to that reading, right, where it's saying, be of service to the people. What when you see something that needs to be addressed, or that you can help with, just be of service. Say, yes, I can help here with that, right? So I just wanted to touch on that, because I think it's an amazing thing to be conscious of that if you're too busy, because I find that we get really busy and there's no production, right? Like you no productivity. I mean, like I get, if I don't have the time to just solitude, give myself some time, journal, just take that time out, I become like, I'm still productive, but I can do things much quicker and be able to focus more on things that actually have meaning to me, if I'm in this space where I'm well rested, that I'm had some time to have some solitude. I've done my bit to, and it's, for me, that looks like timing. Like I need to have time to be able to do what I need to do to feel myself, and to be able to, and that creates productivity. And so I can do things twice as fast. I can create, like, with the, implement some of the stuff that I've learned through the mentoring that I've been getting. But if I didn't sit in it for a little while and try it on and wear it for a little while, and then find out the best ways for me to move forward with it, that's where I see, like, I think we're always trying to push through the rest barrier, and not, take in and not become and not be as productive as we can be, because we're always busy in something else. I saw a quote somewhere that somebody said, multitasking makes us stupid. And I'm like, multitasking makes us stupid. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, as much as we pride ourselves on being able to pivot and do things very quickly, or do things because we're smart, we're actually not, it's not a smart way of doing it. We all know that, sometimes when we're really in flow and we're productive, we actually get things done really quickly. And if we're not in flow and we're still pushing and we're getting interrupted by people all the time, we're just not productive, or we don't feel productive. We don't think that we get what we want done, and then we lose momentum. And once we lost momentum, then we've got to find some time again to get the momentum back, right? So I'm very conscious about that. So I don't know. Let me know on with you and your, with your birthday cycles. What do you do on your birthday? Do you ever do any like solitude or go through silent retreats, or do you do around your birthday time? It's normally very emotional. It's normally very, a poignant place in your calendar. And what do you do in your time with the week before your birthday and the week after your birthday? And if you tell me that you go to the Swiss Alps skiing on your birthday, that's the same sort of thing. Like, you plan it to be able to be, to get the most out of your time while you're having your birthday week. So let me know. I'll be interested to hear all of your stories. So please post in the chat below what the stories are and how you have become, more creative with your time, and knowing that you've got these events coming up like birthdays, and how you manage them, because it's important that us as being fathers and being the best model of our and best version of ourselves as fathers, this is important for us to understand and how we learn. I would even like to go one step further in how we could use how we use AI to be able to, schedule, understand our cycles. Like, I know there's biorhythms, and the way that we can see our rhythms, our biorhythms through apps and things like that. But I'm talking more about like planning your special times, not necessarily your family holidays, but that might be something that you'll be planning as well. But it's more about how you use your time to nurture yourself. Some people might just read a book. Some people might be able to have these extravagant events because that fills them up and makes them feel really, really loved. What do you do to keep your how do you use that time that you have to balance yourself and be productive? That's what I think, because AI is going to have a big part of that, and the more that we get AI involved, the more your scheduling will become more complete, right? So I want to know what you do and how you do it, because it's a great conversation. So there you go. I'm going to head off now, and I will see you next week. We will have a special guest on next week with our evolution of fatherhood. It's to be announced. It'll be a biggie. So anytime that I can see you, I will anytime that there's something in your mind about what you want to do as part of an evolution of fatherhood, you can come along and share it in the group, and let's get talking about it, because there's some gems that people like me want to share, and there's people like you that are out there that are doing the same thing and finding your own journeys, and we want to hear about your journeys as well, because they're important to us. And the way that we integrate that into AI, it's a beautiful, it's a great time to be alive. So I just wanted to say goodbye for now, and I will see you soon next week. If not, give me a call, drop me a line, send a post on the video, whatever you want to do. And I will we'll get back to you, and we'll have a conversation about it. All right. See you soon.